No, sorry. Speaking on their spirituality bit a little bit, it's funny you say that because I just spoke to a lowlander from Manila who I thought was always like a Tagalog, but he's actually like from Bicol. But
Hmm.
he's a fairly secular person, but he identifies heavily through Catholicism. And in our conversation, he was speaking about his family history, and it was almost talking about like a family myth about how his great grandfather or great uncle married a spirit, and he was just talking about it as if it's some like real history, and to me that was kind of interesting. So
Yeah, married a spirit. Well, now, of course, the very famous figures in Ifugao, the carved figures, which people mistakenly call Anito, and they're really Bulul.
mm,
Hmm.
Uh,
mm,
the Anito are the spirits that inhabit that underworld, which is sort of a parallel universe. And if you, by mistake, the member of the human uh, Earth world, uh, bump into and anger one of those spirits, they
Oh
come
yeah.
into you and they make you sick. And the way to
mm,
cure that sickness is you make this carving and you call the local priest, and through incantations, which involve the sprinkling of blood and stuff like that, you try to get the evil spirit that resides in you to transfer it to the figure, to the bulul,
Right. Right.
cure your illness that way. So now you've got a wooden carved figure with an evil spirit residing in it. And so what they do is they put that figure in their rice granary to guard their rice granaries. If anybody tried to steal their rice, the evil spirit would get them. That's the
Hmm.
spirituality of the uh, that's the idea about spirits. None of the Cordilleran tribes had a concept of a creator.
Hmm.
They had no concept that the earth was created. All for them, the earth was just there. And then they lived based on what? On that is the starting point. There was an earth, and then man came and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I've been reading up on some of the stories, and some of the stories were that yeah, there was no like kind of like in Christianity where God created like, 7 days that, and then made this and that. It was just already existing. And and then like the world was kind of flat. And this is the story of earthquakes, like the the one where the world is flat, and then the world is held up by four pillars, but on the at the bottom, when there's a boar, a big boar, and when the boar's back is itchy, scratches its back on the pillar, and then that's what creates earthquakes. So I've been reading some of these stories, and I'm like, wow. So, and I've been looking for kind of like a creation story, but they do have that. They talk about there's Kabunyan, and then there's
mm.
Lumawig, and then there's like, a lot of referred to as like deity heroes and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really
So
interesting.
we've never
Yeah.
really had like any creation myths because that's actually different from what I've been told.
Oh, what have you heard?
Similar stories to uh, ones from the lowlands, or even similar stories to those of Polynesians, but I've
Oh,
never really looked into it. And I think I remember being told like a creation myth where, um, well, where men and women came from, or like where we came from. Like
yeah,
I've heard of
the
that one,
creation
right?
of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
But
that
not
one.
People,
the
that's there.
actual
Yeah.
land.
Yeah,
I've never
Yeah.
actually thought about that.
but the creation of like,
Yeah, the creation
well,
of the universe.
the universe is different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's like the
yeah.
sun god, there's the moon god.
Hmm.
I'm
Um,
actually more familiar with
Interesting.
Polynesian creation myths, but I was told that it's sort of like attributed to that. I don't know.
Well, it's
I actually never really thought about that. Like I know there were origin myths, but not actual like creation myths. I've actually never heard of that. Interesting.
yeah, I need to go deep.
Well, then it
Apparently.
kind of works with a lot of like when you talk to the elders and they ask them, "Hey, how come that is the way it is, or why is that the name?" And then they just say, "Oh, that's just a name. Oh, oh no, it's just like that." That's
I
all.
mean, it's the same. It's a way of saying, oh, it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no
So
answer.
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
maybe just like, why are you thinking about that? It's just there. Why are you thinking about that? Ah,
Well, actually, the concept of God Almighty or Kabunyan is probably not any older than when the time the Spaniards came in,
Mm,
right?
interesting.
Because
Very interesting.
that when you start seeing, you know, religious ideas that involve creator and the sun even or stuff like that,
Hmm.
you know that that's already some sort of influence of the Spanish on the
Mm,
things. I've been trying to figure
Possibly.
out where Kabunyan originally came from. It certainly now means God Almighty, but I'm guessing it probably didn't in the old days. And the closest thing I've come is that in Kankanai, the word buni is means pray. And in the classic Austronesian construction, ka as the
Yeah.
prefix and an as the suffix means a place.
Mm.
So ka buni an might mean a place where people pray or have ceremonies or stuff like that.
It caused
The
like a word.
Taiwanese,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, the Taiwanese heaven, heaven for Taiwan, for Formosan Aboriginal, heaven is for him to get together with his ancestors. Where his ancestors dwell, that's heaven for him. That's where he wants to go when he dies. And in the northern tribe there in Taiwan, the way you get there is you cross a bridge.
Right.
And the only way to cross that bridge is to have the right tattoos. And
mm,
for a man, those tattoos come when you take heads. So the more heads you take, the greater your chances that when you die, you will go to your ancestors, to the dwelling place of your ancestors. And that's what Mount Pulag is in Benguet
Mm.
to from the old days. That's where the ancestors dwelled. That's where they want. Now, in northern Benguet, near Mankayan, there is a Mount Kabunyan. And that's Kankanay territory.
Mount
So that
Kabunyan.
yeah, it's Mount Kabunyan. So and the word in Kankanay for pray is buni. So you wonder maybe that's sort of the idea
Mm.
uh, of that place.